Allergy and Asthma Center of Western Colorado, I'll tell you, still trees, but based on what Rob was telling me, he was mowing his yard today, he thinks the grasses might be starting to kick in. Not grass, grasses. But yeah, we still have some allergens in the atmosphere, and this is going to be something we share with you regularly just to keep you on point, keep you aware. Speaking of on point, nothing official in the rain gauge right now, but we do have those darker clouds, and we will continue Friday, just like we did the previous days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have this afternoon opportunity for showers, which have been building up throughout the day because we have a constant transport of moisture into our atmosphere, hence the cloud coverage. And then these afternoon storms can pop up over the mountains, the mesas, the plateaus, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on. Those will kick out some wind, and we're under this slightly less warm regime. Temperatures right now mid-60s, Grand Junction, Delta, Montrose. We're back on site. We got our data system in Montrose operational again. These are not official, but we haven't really gotten all that warm today. Mid-60s, near 70 degrees. We should be right around the 70-degree mark for Grand Junction and for Montrose, but we're not going to achieve that on Saturday. We're not going to achieve that on Sunday. We do get our warmer temperatures building in next week, and constantly we will keep breezy conditions in the forecast. Right now we are breezy. We're about 10 to 20 miles per hour kicking around. Top gusts of the day probably have not been realized, but 25, and around Montrose and Delta, we've had some of those darker and stronger storm clouds moving off of the high country sites, the high elevation sites, and those have produced some gusty winds, 35 to 40 miles per hour. Grand Junction, we could still get going with a stronger wind speed tonight. Speaking of tonight, there's a pretty good possibility that we're going to get another overnight opportunity for rain showers. Late, we're talking between midnight and 6 a.m., a little passing disturbance. In the meantime, I'm looking perhaps next week. We have another late week storm system, still on the fence about it, but as that system continues to develop and we do get stronger wind speeds and hotter temperatures for the middle of next week, we could get some red flag warnings. So that is something to be thinking about. Meanwhile, we're going to keep breezy conditions in the forecast. Basically, what you experienced today, 10 to 25, barely 30 miles per hour. We're going to do that on Saturday and Sunday. And that kind of contributes to a little bit of a cool feel, enjoyable, relaxing in my opinion. Even though our temperatures are down, it doesn't mean we're going to stop that snow melt. This is going to continue. Granted, it's going to slow down a little bit. We still have flood warnings around the Gateway area. We still have flood advisories around the Natarita area. We still have a flood watch up in Craig, Rangeley, and Meeker area. But again, just because our temperatures trend a little bit down into the 60s, it does slow down the melt, the runoff, but by no means are you going to notice it in the rivers. Rivers are still widening. Rivers are still rising. Rivers are still high flow, so please be very careful. Next week, especially when we have these warmer temperatures, you might be more inclined to want to seek relief in those area rivers. Please be very careful. Radar, even with the cloud coverage popping on the Grand Mesa, even with some of that rain falling out of the clouds but not making it to the ground, there's very little occurring on radar. A couple little storm clouds on the front range. We still have this moisture being transported in from the south to north direction. In fact, once we get past the midnight hour tonight, we could see some storms popping off the Uncompahgre, popping off the Grand Mesa, getting up onto the Roan Plateau to our north. So we will see this opportunity. You might even see a lightning strike later. We're going to keep partly clouded to mostly cloudy skies tonight. We'll maintain partly cloudy skies tomorrow as well. Look at this, a little bit of snow up in the Flat Tops region around Pitkin County, Eagle County as well, but eastern Garfield County and the higher elevations. Wouldn't be surprised if we had a scotch of new snow, but this is really going to be higher elevation snow. And of course, tomorrow afternoon, we'll look at that opportunity to build up a few more storm clouds. Now, the culprit, well, we had this low pressure system of late. It's kind of meandering off on the northwestern corner of our country. The jet stream itself cradling that in the Pacific Northwest, but rounding the base of the jet stream, we have moisture transport and we have wind transport. That's one of the reasons why we're going to keep at least those afternoon storm shots and at least the breezy conditions you could see. Breezy conditions all the way through next week. I did not put up the gusty or the windy icon for late next week because I'm still kind of on the fence about how this next storm system is going to develop. A more significant system as it will have a cold front attached to it if it does materialize. In the meantime, we have tonight, we have Saturday, and we have Sunday. Overnight storm development and then storm clouds passing through in the early morning hours. And then again in the afternoon hours. That's going to be possible. But we do experience a bit of a warm-up because this system that's kind of anchored in the Pacific Northwest with a jet stream cradling it, that will give way. We'll get a little bit of a ridge of high pressure building in and introducing drier air, clearer air. and warmer conditions. So that's something we get to look forward to for the beginning of next week. We're going to get a stretch of warmer days right into the midweek period. We do expect some stronger winds by late next week with the introduction of that storm system. Tomorrow for Montrose, our wind speeds probably will exceed breezy and get right into the gusty, so just be mindful of the dust in the air.